Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Nytt Torem on October 6th on Napalm Records. This album has 9 tracks, 44 minutes in length, and this is the band's 7th full-length studio album. They are a Russian folk atmospheric band. Now, if you're a fan of this band or if you heard some of their records before, this album will not surprise you. It's a very similar approach design-wise. It has a great intro, great outro. It's an album that feels like a journey that puts together a path for the listener, a path that you learn more about with each and every passing song, but also a record that really lives off of the collective. This is not to say that the individual songs don't have merit or quality, because obviously they do, but I honestly feel that when it comes to Nytt, listening to a song out of the context of the record can only take you so far. In order for you to get the most out of each and every single track, and therefore the most out of the album, you have to sit down, press play, and go through all 9 songs. Now, the album is 44 minutes, but I guarantee you it will not feel like it's 44 minutes. It feels a lot shorter. It has great experience, easy to digest, great fluidity from track to track. You honestly feel like each song propels you forward. And when you have an album with these kind of dynamics, it just allows the overall experience to be a lot better. It enhances all of the different qualities. You lose track of time. It's about experience every single moment, getting the most out of them, and you're not really necessarily concerned with how long it's going to take you to get to the finish line. It's not about the end of the journey. It's about the path that takes you there. As far as the sound is concerned, this album has outstanding production. Not great production, outstanding production. When you listen to this record, it honestly feels like they're performing in your living room. There's 100 people in front of you playing instruments, singing, creating the overall vibe, the overall atmosphere that this record offers right in your living room. That is how the sound comes across. It's not a live record, but it definitely gives you that essence of being present with them when the album was recorded. And that a lot of that comes from that great production that this album has. The quality of the sound, how crisp it is, all the little nuances that you can take from all the different instruments, the nuances that you can take from the different vocal approaches, the layers, the humming, the backing vocals, everything that they added to this record was added with a sense of purpose. Some of the sampling that they created here, specifically in a song like Iavel, which is the closing track of the album, where you hear the fire, there's a fire pit almost in front of you. So all of these elements add incredible quality, but they can only add quality if they're clear, if they're crisp, if they're well defined in the essence of the songs and what they're trying to give to each and every single song. So sound-wise, this is definitely a step up from Ritual. Not that Ritual was a poor sounding album, because it wasn't, but I honestly feel like this album goes a little bit further. It takes the sound experience and the vocal performance with it a little bit further down the line. It allows you to see a lot more. A record that almost gives you this 4D essence, where you have sound, but you can almost smell the fireplace, or the fire pit, I should say, and then you can visualize what is happening in front of you, the rituals that are happening, the songs that they're singing about, the objects that those songs create. All of that becomes really vivid on each and every single track of this album because of the sound quality, because of how clear it is, and how it's defined in all of its parts, and how it comes together beautifully in such a smooth, natural way. And then when you have that experience of being there with the band when they recorded, or if they're performing in front of you in your own living room, that just adds incredible quality to each and every single song, and obviously to the overall record itself. Now, when it comes to the sound, in terms of the elements that create that sound, when it comes to Nytt, there's a lot to talk about. They use a wide variety of instruments in order to create that folk experience, and in order to create that atmospheric experience that it's part of their DNA. But I gotta mention the percussions in general. I honestly felt like they were so earthy, very grounded, very well connected. They were the heartbeat of this album. Even in songs that felt a little bit more stripped down, or that had more stripped down moments, the percussions always came in and became that heartbeat that really allow you to feel the emotion of the track. You may not understand what they're singing about, you may not understand the essence of the songs, but you feel that emotion and that heartbeat, and those percussions coming through song in and song out. And because of that, it became one of my main focuses, one of the things that I really gravitated to and hold on to across the entire album. Really well done on this record. I felt like it connected the essence, the roots of their sound with that heartbeat of an album in general. Now, as far as vocals are concerned, the album is very dynamic, very lively. I really like the layers, the backing vocals, this experience of feeling like there are 100 people singing in front of you, around you. You feel surrounded by the vocal experience. There's a lot of depth to the vocals as well. They don't feel uniform, and they don't come across in a very linear way. They have movement to them. And because of how they were recorded, sometimes closer, sometimes the vocals hit you a little bit closer, like they're right in front of you. Sometimes they feel like they're behind you. Sometimes they feel like they're in front of you. Sometimes they feel like they're at a distance. So this creation of depth with vocals, it's really important in order to add even more depth to what the sound and the music within that sound is already putting forward. So this is a great album, vocally super strong. Like the entire record, I would say it's a step up from Ritual because it felt a little bit more natural, it felt a little bit more organic, and it had a much deeper impact into that depth of perception that the overall record gives you. So when you look at this album and you look at what they've done with their previous record, this album definitely takes them in a different direction, still keeping them connected with the roots of who they are as a band and who they are as artists, but this album is definitely the right step in the evolution of the band. Taking the band a little bit further, creating a more polished record, a record that adds more dimensions to what they give the listener, and a record that's a lot stronger musically and vocally all around. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I picked 3 songs. One of them is going to surprise you, but I'm going to start off with Johem Ar. The vocals on this track are very soulful. They have a sense of connection. They feel deep. They feel almost painful at times in terms of how they come across. The instrumentation is very stripped down, which allows you to feel that emotion, that deepness in that emotion as far as the vocal performance is concerned. It has some layers, it has layers that create depth, and then you have the percussions finally coming in and adding size and adding volume to the song. The song becomes bigger, the volume becomes bigger, it feels like there are more voices involved. It feels like it went from a single point of contact or a single point of reference to rather a whole tribe coming together in unison. So it's a song that evolves and it takes you throughout that evolution with great quality, but a track that always keeps in mind that the vocals are the focal point and they are there to guide you through the entire experience of listening to this song. Next we have Torem, a more atmospheric opening. And this atmospheric opening is important because it stays there throughout the entire track. It doesn't stay in the forefront as it does as the song opens, but it stays there as a layer of the entire song. The percussions come in, they build upon that atmosphere, they keep that atmosphere underneath it, and then the vocals guide you where you're going with this track. Once again, great layers, adding a lot of depth. Musically, it's a track that really never loses track of that atmospheric opening by keeping it as a layer. I'm going to go back to that because I think this is a very important element that helps set this song apart. That start and how you keep that start connected throughout the entire song really elevates this track because it creates a different layer that a lot of other songs don't have. A lot of other songs feel perhaps a little bit more connected, a little bit more grounded, a little bit more stationed in terms of what their starting point and finish line were all about. This one allows you to move into a different realm. It allows you to become a little bit more spiritual because of how the song starts. That atmospheric opening adds a spirituality essence to the whole song from start to finish. And then last but definitely not least, the closing song of the album, it's Iavel. This song is really important to me. Now, you're going to listen to this album, you're going to get to the outro, and you're going to say, well, this is just an instrumental track with a fire pit burning, some sounds that add to the way that fire pit is going. There are some string sounds there, but there's not much to it. It's an outro, but it's an outro that finishes the journey of the record, and that's why it was important to me. Because when I go back to how the album starts, when I go back to the essence of this record, I honestly felt like this album was always to be placed around a fire pit. The fire pit was the main focus, perhaps a fire pit burning in front of a totem, of a symbol, of something that symbolizes something. And that's the way you pass on traditions. That's the way you pass on history. Your own legacy from your elders was passed on to you, and now you're passing it on to the next generation. This album has a lot of that built into its design and into its sound. So closing off with a song that has these sort of characteristics puts definitely a closing remark on the entire album. It's the perfect outro for a record that kind of had that experience in the background the whole time. So why not, being one of the greatest songs on the album, is just an outro, but it's an outro that really closes off the chapter of this book. And because of that, I find it very important, at least from my experience, because I'm not looking at a song by song basis. I'm looking as a record compiled of 9 tracks that must create this sense of journey, this sense of path. And this was the end of said path, of said journey. This is it. Nytt with Torem, our October 6th on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.